happening. You're trying to figure out ultimately what is.
It's still a mystery as to why it took them. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Conlon, one of your hosts of Primetime Crime. With me, as always, is Jarrett Ferrantino, our favorite former homicide prosecutor, and my co-host. Hi, Jarrett.
Hey, Lauren.
It's been a while since we have given a legal update on what's going on with the suspects in the tragic case of Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley. And our hearts just really are with the families right now. This is an awful time. And I can't imagine what they're going through, but we hope to provide some clarity with what's going on legally right now. And we did discuss some recent updates on one of our live shows, but we thought it would be helpful to just put everything in one video. And we're just going to quickly go back to reiterate about the fact that Paul Grice waived his right to a speedy trial and the pretrial in December, as did Cora Twombly. And we also want to reiterate that there were additional charges brought forth. And the additional charges for Tad and Cole, these were abuse of a corpse. No, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. It's abuse of... let me pull this up really quickly, just so I don't completely muck this up.
It's close, though. That's what that charge is called in other jurisdictions.
Unlawful desecration of a human corpse and unlawful removal of a dead body. Those are the official charges. And Tiffany was also given those charges, but she was also given 2 extra charges of child neglect. And this was based on the fact that the kids allegedly could be seen walking through like a Tractor Supply Co. carrying ratchet straps that were used in the murders, allegedly. And in the state of Oklahoma, child neglect is essentially allowing children to be around illegal or nefarious activity, which this was. So Jarrett and I have speculated, mainly Jarrett, that Cora and Paul are cooperating with the state. And they are going to either testify in December, maybe not, maybe on video. We just don't know what's happening. But as of right now, Paul has been transferred to a different jail. Cora is allegedly in the same jail and hasn't been moved, but I'm guessing that she's not around Tiffany. But what do I know? I don't know. And a lot of this could be because she doesn't want to make her 16-year-old testify any more than she has to. And I realize that the 16-year-old is Cora's daughter from a previous marriage. It's not necessarily Cole's daughter. I don't know if that has anything to do with him not taking, or you know what, maybe he wasn't offered any type of deal, right? And when I say deal, I think Jarrett can agree that the deal would be you get to keep your life in prison forever. You are not facing capital punishment. Do you agree?
That would be the deal I would make.
Yeah, right. I think it's fair to say Jarrett would also agree that we do not think that any of these suspects will ever see the light of day.
I think I've had cases where it's likely life with the possibility of parole, the small window of an opportunity. So that may be something in the offing. I think it's worth noting, though, we're going to go over a phone that came yesterday, and only Tiffany, Cole, and Tad have made the request. Yes. And they make it jointly with their lawyers. Paul and Cora are not part of that request, further suggesting they're not making that request because they're not intending to defend themselves.
Exactly. So the request that was filed yesterday, I'm going to add this here in a minute, but yesterday, Jillian's 13-page autopsy report was released, and the same day that it was released, Tad, Cole, and Tiffany, as Jarrett just said, filed a motion, which, again, I don't know if it's a little confusing, Jarrett. Like, did they get wind that the reports were going to be released? Because I read early on that the reports, they were planning to release them on the 15th. So I'm thinking in my head, in anticipation of the reports being released on the 15th, they wanted to get this filing out on the 5th. They didn't realize that one of the reports was already going to be released. Do you agree that that's maybe,
or somebody saw this filing come into the clerk's office and let the first autopsy report out before a court order blocks it?
But the autopsy reports are not on the dockets. That's the thing. I check those dockets daily.
And they wouldn't be. They wouldn't
right.
be. I'm
So
just saying.
yeah.
I'm saying when this filing came in and there was a suspicion that the release of the autopsy could be delayed. So there's a new filing asking for the autopsy reports released to be delayed until at least May.
And this
Okay.
is it. So let me take this banner down really quick. This is what was filed yesterday, based on them wanting to delay the autopsies from coming out. Let me see here. Jarrett, are you able to read that? My eyesight.
So basically, Cole, Tad, and Tiffany, through their lawyers, have asked basically to delay the release of the autopsy report. So that's what they filed yesterday. And then they note that we've done this jointly with the DA. It needs to be withheld. They don't even say why. They just ask for a delay in its release. So the court was routinely amending its order to push off the release date of the autopsy. This is just a procedural filing saying, hey, judge, we still need you to delay the release of the autopsy report. However, prior to a hearing or this motion being heard, somehow, some way, the autopsy report of Jilian Kelley got out yesterday.
Yeah. And my thinking behind this is maybe they, before the pretrial hearing, they're thinking if this is released or if the autopsies are released, it will be discussed in the media. And they don't want that they think that could affect them. Right? I mean, is that a fair assessment? Or like what other reason is there besides the fact that when the autopsy reports are released, it makes them look evil as hell? There's just no reasoning behind them having a defense anymore once you read these autopsy reports.
Right. So now you're balancing the public's right to know versus the likely prejudicial effect and sledgehammer impact upon the defense. Now, so the only reason they would be asking to block the release of this is because of the heinous nature of the autopsy reports, the nature of the injuries, and how it will inure back on Cole, Tad, and Tiffany in this situation now. So they're saying, don't release it. There's enough press out there. There's enough bad press against us already. Delay this so our jury pool isn't further prejudiced. And that's really what they're looking to do. That's the only reason why they would. I mean, look, these are the folks we believe that carried out the very injuries depicted in and brought about the deaths of Kelley and Veronica. So the only reason is a selfish reason why they wouldn't want it out. And that's to protect their right to a fair trial.
Right. Yeah. And that's my thinking. And
not to say the right to a fair trial is a selfish motivation, but it's really, they're looking out for themselves here.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, yes. And I think that it's the thing is each county is like what, 2,000 to 3,000 people there. I mean, it's going to be tough, in my opinion, to find people that are not aware of this. However, I think that they'll have no problem getting a quote fair trial, simply because I think that a lot of people won't know a lot of the details. They maybe have read the headlines, but I think we have to remember not everybody is like us and as invested in this case. They might read the headlines and say, oh, how awful, but they're not going into all of the details that we're going into, right?
No, and I think that that's true, but here's the thing. So you and I have seen this autopsy report, and we know that people very close to Veronica and Jilian watch our show, and it's not my intention to delve into the details of the report, and I don't think it's necessary. It doesn't serve our interest, other than to say I would like to discuss it a little bit. And for those of you that are very close to this situation, tune out, because you don't need to hear. There's no insight other than I've some conclusions from the report that I think benefit the case and what has been said so far. Couple of things. Number one, you and I, in the evidence and the affidavit, note that Tiffany procured stun guns prior to, in the weeks leading up to Veronica and Jilian's kidnapping and murder. There is evidence on Jilian's body of the utilization of a stun gun as a so what can you glean from that? Number one, when external facts are supported with physical evidence like this,
right,
it means that what we have been speculating, what the investigators have believed, is in fact the case, and it makes the case tighter. They buy a stun gun. Jilian's body has evidence of a stun gun being administered upon her. Also, it supports that that was used as a restraint device, as a means of control over her, to kidnap her and move
it's
her
also
to another location.
premeditation, right? They know when.
Well, we'll
when
talk about that too.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that too. So those very items, like this eliminates Tiffany's ability to say, I just happened to buy a stun gun weeks before. It's like, oh, and you just happened to use it with Jilian. So this goes into really providing more depth into the evidence that we've been reviewing so far. One, the stun gun was purchased. Two, it appears clearly to have been utilized. And how and why is that utilized? To create control and subdue someone who's resisting, or to take them from point A to point B, supported in the autopsy report. Also in the autopsy report, we talked extensively about the yellow ratchet straps that Tiffany procured in the weeks leading up to the murders in the presence of her grandchildren, which now are part of those charges related to neglect. They are referenced as being present on and inside the cooler, the freezer. So they're in the autopsy report. Also, further, just tightening the noose here, basically saying the ratchet straps are relevant. They were described in the affidavit. They're supported with conclusions that were made in the autopsy. So they're there.
Right. I think you've made really great points there. I would love to not get any further into the autopsy report.
The only thing I would say is this. So it was a stabbing death. There were multiple stab wounds. The autopsy is very specific about the nature, location, extent of those injuries. I don't care to get into those, other than to say that when you have multiple stab wounds above the shoulders, it tends to be a personal act. And it's clearly intentional murder. Also, there was the presence of some defensive wounds. So, and that's as much as I want to say, other than.
So all of that, again, like what you said, it tightens the noose here. This is hard evidence. This is you just undisputable here. So as awful as this is, right? It is unspeakable, and it's something that, you can't talk about it. It's so difficult. But again, I think that this really just adds to the fact that I believe there is no way they will ever see the light of day based on this.
And now we know why Cole, Tad, and Tiffany want that report out. It's bad.
It's bad. It's bad.
It really brings home the vivid depictions of these injuries. As a human being, when you read that, it brings home just how awful. There's terms that we use, murder, killing, these things. They tend to get generic, and it's a different ballgame when you're looking at the nature of these decisions and the illustrations and such that are in that report. I mean, it really brings this home that this was a young, beautiful woman who should not have been killed, certainly not have been killed, this violently. I mean, it
No,
just
and these
these people are animals. I hate to say it, but they're animals.
They're savage animals. And these two women, it is so clear that they fought with every fiber of their being to stay alive for their families. I mean, it is so clear to me. And something else I've been thinking about is, the crime scene, Jarrett, the way that the suspects left this crime scene. And, when reports first came out that Jilian was found or she had a mag on her, but no pistol, right? Well, of course she had the pistol initially. I'm thinking in my head, now that I've, been going back and forth with all of the evidence and what we know now, she of course probably tried to fight back with that gun. And I'm sure the suspects were like, whoa, we weren't expecting this, because if you're planning this heinous crime and this heinous murder, you're not going to leave a crime scene like that. You're not going to leave the car off the side of the road with blood everywhere unless something went very wrong. And these women were much stronger than you fucking thought they were. Okay.
Well, there's that, and it was daylight. It was daylight. It was open. They had to move quickly. Everybody's adrenaline's going. They're not thinking about what's left behind at that scene.
5-on-2 is not fucking okay. Excuse my language to everybody. I don't mean to be offensive, but these Veronica and I just know it. They held their own until I know it. I mean, anyway, the next,
and especially, Veronica would have been totally suspecting of any, but like Jilian, she's been dealing with Tiffany at least for a long time. Like, this came out of the blue for Veronica.
You mean Veronica had been dealing with Tiffany? Yes. Yeah. So yeah. Well, the next time these suspects are in court will be in December. As of right now, they waived their October hearing. There's nothing on the docket for November. But yeah, we will keep everyone posted if another filing comes out. And yeah, if you are
the December hearing is a big day, though. We know that.
Yes,
that's a big day.
definitely. And again, my heart and my prayers, they just go out to you if you are family, friends, or just connected to this case at all. But I hope that this was informative, and I hope that it also offers a bit of hope, even though this situation does feel hopeless.
Well, the hope, all we're left with is the possibility of justice. And then when you get information that supports the state's theory of the case, that's a step toward justice. And that's really where we're headed.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions or, you want to reach out to us, you can email me. My email is lauren@popcrime.tv. I can get questions over to Jarrett. He can look through whatever you guys need. So, all right. Thanks, Jarrett. And thanks everyone for listening.
Lauren. Happening. You're trying to figure out ultimately what is
It's still a mystery as to why it took them